welcome to another episode of Friday Night Knits. This particular episode is focusing on my spinning journey. And so I am coming to you on a special day off. It is a 3-day weekend, and me just needing to take a moment to breathe and kind of shift my mind because my students and I are transitioning from the fall semester to the spring semester. And in the fall, I teach AP African American Studies. And with the current political climate that we're dealing with, coupled with uh, just the needs that different students have, I'm finding that it's taking more mental energy to help them recognize that there's multiple perspectives and it's important to explore those. And my spinning has definitely been a part of calming my mind so that way I can be more thoughtful about some of the approaches I'm going to use, especially with teaching AP Government and Politics in just a few days. So with that said, I decided that I wanted to learn how to fractal spin. I have been spending quality time with YouTube University as well as with Google just to learn about the different opportunities to do fractal spinning. And from my understanding, is that if you take a braid that has multiple colors in it, where there's obviously some significant color shifts like what you see here, you split it into specific sections. And so for what most people are doing, especially from what I've noticed for like a 2-ply fractal, they will split it in half and they will just ply or in a single ply from one half and then take the other half and divide it into multiple sections and ply from there as well. And so what I decided to do was to split it in half. And because of the way I like to spin, I like to pull from smaller braids similar to this size. And so I made my extra sections even smaller than what I typically do. And what's been happening so far is that I've been getting all these different ideas about what I want to do for this project. My goal with this fractal spin is to do a 3-ply. In my last spinning vlog, I did a chain ply. And so for this one, I'm doing a 3-ply fractal spin. Initially, I was going to do a 2-ply, but from what I'm learning from YouTube, as well as reading Jillian Marino's book, it's better to do a 3-ply as it will have a more stability. And given the fact that I don't have consistency yet with my spinning, I think that's a better fit. So what I learned so far about spinning, I have a whole tab dedicated to spinning, like all the spinning wheels, carding, classes, dream robots, which is what I have at home. Wanted to look up what are the specific directions from that. I also have a lot of details about fiber I have a bad habit of holding. So what I've read online, according to my Google search here, I'm just going to pull this up, that with fractal spinning, after you split your braid, you spin differently. So you spin each section into singles. And if you want to do a long repeat, which is what I'm hoping to do, you're going to just spin the entire braid in the length. Because what I've done in the past, and you maybe saw this in my last video, I would most likely divide it in half, not only vertical, but horizontal as well. And so with a fractal spin, for what I'm learning from it, it looks like you are just dividing it all the way down and you're just spinning from this very long length, which is about, I don't know the length, but it feels very long. It's about a yard, if not longer. But anyway, I digress. So once you're successful in doing the sectioning and you decide what type of repeat, I'm doing a long repeat, you then ply. And so typically people do either a 2-ply or 3-ply. I have also watched one vlog where a person did a 4-ply. As I mentioned before, my goal is to do a 2-ply. If I decide to do a 3-ply, I definitely will use this additional fiber I have here. As you can see, it's almost identical in the color with the one I'm holding up. So let me tell you a little bit about the fiber I'm using. So for this multicolored fiber that has this violet, gray, very dark purple, a little bit of pink, a little bit more purple, and then this lovely sky blue. This was all dyed by Fiona K. So I'm going to hold up her label. And the wool that I'm using is new to me. It's called Shanico. I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly. I may not be. So I'm going to hold it up. So it's a 4-ounce braid that has a mix of this wool and silk together. And I must say it's very soft, which is the reason why I would love to use this for the simple thing. The simple thing is a scarf on Ravelry that is for free. So if you're looking for a pattern that is a very close knockoff to the Sophie shawl, this is definitely it. So I'm going to pull up details for that. Where is it? Perfect. So the simple thing, I'm going to put a little quick picture for you. There you go. This is a free pattern on Ravelry, and the designer's name is Melina Braille. This is a DK scarf that calls for about a 24 stitch, 28 row gauge in garter stitch. You will use a US 7 also, which is also the 4.5 millimeters, and it takes about 219 to 273 yards. Now, obviously you can do more yardage with that or a different weight because it is a garter stitch, because it's the way that she wrote it, that it's not intended to be a scarf, but not also a shawl. It's just a simple thing to wear in between around your neck to keep your neck warm. She also identified that you can use one skein of yarn and that the pattern can be adapted based on the size, weight, or whatnot. It looks like you can simply just continue to increase if you want it a little bigger or longer as well. She also identified that this is a simplified version of her pattern called the One Skein Cheshire Cat Shawl, which she published 2 years ago. So with that said, and in addition to this, that this particular pattern, which is free, again, there is a YouTube tutorial to help you with the setup. And I downloaded the pattern. She also has images included there too. So there's images on the Ravelry page, on the pattern, and then there's a YouTube tutorial to walk you through the setup, because sometimes initiating the process can be challenging. So what I am doing with now that I have successfully separated into smaller sections, I have started my single ply, and so far I have 2 completed bobbins. So here is bobbin number 1. This one obviously had more of the fiber in its section, and it always ends with this lovely sky blue. For the most part, there's been pretty consistency with my, drafting. However, there was some moments where got a little distracted and it wasn't coming out exactly. With this one, this was one of my smaller sections, and as you can see, it was definitely pretty consistent. I got a little distracted here, which is why there's this little pigtail that's there, but for the most part, especially in the purple section, I was crushing it. But then I started looking at my phone, and maybe I was just getting fatigued and I should have took a break. And so right now I am working on my 3rd bobbin. I've already did one little skinny braid, and so now I'm working on the 2nd. My goal is to finish this up, and then I'm going to do the 2nd half of this section, and this will be my final section. I haven't decided if I'm going to spin this or not with this particular item. As you can see, hopefully it's coming off. This is a very tonal color. However, you can see a slight variation of the colors, where some spots of it, it's a little lighter blue, and the others are a little bit of a darker sky blue. So I definitely want to use this wool, and if I don't end up putting it into this particular pattern, there is this beautiful Tunisian crochet pattern that was designed by Tony Lipsy, that's called the Lamina shawl. And one of the reasons why I love this shawl so much in fact, that I'm starting to reconsider doing the simple things and doing the Tunisian crochet with this, because one, I haven't Tunisian crochet in about 7 months, if not longer. I made my sister-in-law a beautiful Lamina shawl, and it's one of my favorite patterns, and it really gives you the opportunity to practice some of the stitch work and practicing doing other versions of stitch work. So I definitely think I'm leaning towards that. And the reason why is that, here, I'll pull up a picture of the Lamina shawl. The reason why, because with the Lamina shawl, it allows you to do one solid color on one side and you could do a variation on the other. So let me see if I can find it. It's on my Ravelry page as well, if any of you who want to look at the specifics of that. Tony Lipsy is an excellent designer, and what is so awesome about that pattern is A, it's free, and B, she also has a tutorial for it as well. So for my sister-in-law's Lamina shawl, I was at Rhinebeck 2 years ago, and this was the colorway, I want to say it was the Miss Babs colorway. And I decided to do, there was obviously the attached skein. I did that in that solid color there. And then a simple stitch, which is the multicolor one. That's what you see there. But in the solid color where you see that purple, that is a honeycomb stitch in Tunisian crochet. And so, oh my gosh, this was almost 2 years ago. It'll be 3 years ago. Dude, I didn't realize it was that long. But anywho, it's one of my favorite Tunisian crochet patterns. I love it, and it looks so elegant. So a part of me is thinking that although I really would love to do the simple thing scarf, which I have every intention in doing so, and I definitely have plenty of wool where that can be dabbed into. I'm feeling this need to crochet. I haven't crocheted as frequently as I would like, and so I can definitely see both fibers not only being used for this, but also if I spin it correctly, I can potentially use it in a crochet blanket that I have my eye on. My hope is to start crocheting the imagination blanket. I love crocheting blankets. That is definitely one of my preferred way of making blankets. It's been a very long time since I've knitted a blanket. I've only knitted a blanket twice, and so I'm hopeful that I can do that again. But my fingers are just like, I want to crochet, I want to crochet. And so tonight, for example, I definitely see myself starting to like dabble into that. And so with that said, my goal for this first segment of this vlog is to go ahead and do hopefully finish this bobbin, and I have one more that I can do. My hope is that this will be the final bobbin, and that these two will be my bobbins I will use for the plying, where I'm assuming I'm going to have about 2 ounces on one and 2 ounces on the other. I have my Lazy Kate all set up and ready to go, so I won't have to worry about that. If I can get all three on here, that would be awesome. I can also add onto this particular bobbin. As you can see, there's definitely some space there. These bobbins are intended to hold about 2 ounces, and I will admit I may sometimes overstuff them, which is not always in its best interest. So we'll see what I'll end up doing. For now, I'm going to keep trucking away, spinning this and again listening to my audiobook, and hopefully I will have all three done by the time I'm finished with this. One thing I've noticed whenever I'm drafting, that sometimes the wool can get a little stuck, and this is why pre-drafting can really be helpful. I'm glad that I actually noticed that I was going to have some issue with pulling the wool forward, so this is what I'm doing right now. I'm taking the time out to do some pre-drafting again, just to make sure that the fiber is going to be able to easily draft onto my bobbin, I should say. Once I have successfully done that, then I would turn my wheel, I should say, back on, and I'm able to spin with a little bit more ease. I've noticed that when I do a really good job of pre-drafting, that my wool comes out a little bit more consistent. In addition, that my hands are not hurting as much. So I really want to do a better job of taking the time out to pre-draft, because as you look at my hands right now, it's just smoothly going up and down and getting the wool set up onto the bobbin so that later I can ply it into some yarn. So just doing one final check-in until I talk to you about my ply. I have successfully spun the entire braid. I am still working with the Fiona K. I'm using this beautiful blend of this wool that has some silk in it. So it's been such a very soft and a wonderful experience, I should say. There was a little bit of a not so great plying experience. I honestly have to admit I was rushing a little bit just to get this done. So it's definitely some overspun pieces in here, as well as this is not my best. I'll just leave it at that. I've done some really great spinning. When I compare this bobbin to this one, you can definitely see the difference as well. But my hope is that it will still survive the plying experience that I'm planning to do. So when I see you all again, I will be applying these 3 bobbins together. I am still planning to do a 3-ply with it. I'll start off with a 3-ply, but if I find it to be too complex, I can always switch over to a 2-ply as well. We'll just see. I'm going to play it by ear. I am also going to, once I'm successful at letting it sit, I want it to sit for at least 24, if not 48 hours. The earliest this week I can possibly spin again will probably be Wednesday. So I am going, which is plenty of time. I just got to be patient. I'm going to leave it out just as an inspiration for myself, as a motivation, I should say, not inspiration, because I'm already inspired, just a motivation to apply it together. And then once I get it applied, I'll go ahead and get started on it. Right now, the project I'm thinking about, as I mentioned earlier in the video, is either the Lamana wrap or the Simple Thing scarf. So we'll see which one ends up being cast on. And finally, once I am successful in applying this and getting this on the needle or hook, I am then going to decide which one I'm going to do next. So I have several options for my next spin. One is the Into the World, the Rhineback. This was purchased for me by my friend Annie when we were there. It's Fractual wool. It's 4 ounces. It's absolutely beautiful. And it's another opportunity for a self-striping situation, another fractal spin with this possibly. Another option that I can move forward with is the Jaunty. I really, really want to put that on my needles. But currently the project I'm doing right now, it is a very similar texture pattern, and I want to get that done. And so my sister-in-law's shirt is a 2x1 ribbing basically throughout the whole thing. You do a couple of things here and there, but it's primarily 2x1. And I know the Jaunty isn't a ribbing, it's more of a broken rib, but I don't know. I think I need a reprieve from it, although it looks super squishy and beautiful. I was just watching Needles at the Ready, and Ray was showing his Jaunty, and I'm like, oh, I really want to put that on the needles. But anywho, when I'm ready to cast that on, I will be using this beautiful wool I purchased from an Etsy shop. I'll share all the details for that once I start with that particular spin. So I am surrounded by wool. I may have accidentally purchased some more today. There was a sale. You know how it is. You know how it is. It was a 40% off. I'm like, how can I say no to that? How? It was cashmere wool and silk wool, silk blended with wool and cashmere blended with wool, and it was 40% off. It was usually like $52. It was 40% off. I had to. So I'm really excited about that. I can't wait for that to come. So that will be here later on. I'll share that with you guys too. And I'll make sure I share in the description all the details to the yarn dyer I'm using for this current spin, as well as a link to the e-spinner that I'm using too. So with that said, I will see you on the next check-in when I am applying these 2.5 beautiful bobbins together. Good morning. It is now time to do the fractal spin. I have my wool all set up on the Lazy Kate. I'm going to get my bobbin all set up. So I'm going to go ahead and change the camera angle so you can see exactly what I'm doing. I was also able to figure out how to charge my portable charger. So here we go. I did the wool, the single strands on a Z twist. And so now I'm doing an S twist. Okay, so the first one was not a fill, and I think the reason why it's not really catching the way I wanted to is because of the leader. I'm not using a very good leader right now, so I'm going to remedy that, because as you can see, it came apart and I didn't notice it until now.
Now it's time to load my bobbin.
And remember, sometimes it takes multiple tries to get your bobbin going, and if it does, that's okay. So I am at a point where I'm on my last bobbin. Here it is. And unfortunately, all the other wool I spun is out. So I had some leftover La Biennale brush cashmere. I bought it in this beautiful fuchsia pink. I had the Queen Spells purple. I didn't want to use that one because I'm saving it for a special occasion, but I figured that this will blend really well given the fact that there's such a rich purple and blue, and there's little specks of this hot pink in here. So and of all the colors, I thought this was for it. As you can see, my bobbin is quite full, and I am hoping that I can get every shred of wool on here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera and see if I can be successful in this endeavor. Because I'm so close to being finished. I had the wonderful opportunity to do some lawn draw, so that's what allowed me to go so quickly with this. And I already unloaded the other two bobbins that were full and got them ready. There's a little bit of some wool that I'm pretty sure I'm not going to use when I'm making this project. And the more I spin this, the more I'm realizing that the Lamina wrap will be the best project to use for this. Although the Simple Things scarf would be ideal as well. And so I really genuinely cannot decide, but the crochet tends to use more. Yep, I knew that was going to happen. Darn, I was so close. It is done. Now that this yarn has been spun, I have also wet blotted. I also let it air dry, and then finally I was able to put it into a cake. I am now using the beautiful free pattern on Tony Lipsy's website called the Lamana Wrap. The Lamana Wrap is a wonderful free Tunisian crochet shawl that allows you to practice the technique of the simple stitch as well as the Tunisian simple stitch, but as well as the honeycomb stitch. What I love so much about this is that it really allows the yarn to showcase, but also your ability to make the stitches come to life. Now, one thing I did do, which is something quite often, is that I dropped my yarn on the floor. What else are you going to do, right? But one of my favorite things about this particular pattern is not only does she give very clear directions about how to make a wrap to fit your style, but she also has a beautiful video on YouTube to walk you through the steps, just in case you're like me and you need a little bit of a visual on how to engage with this. Now, I am fumbling a little bit here because it's been a very long time since I've engaged in Tunisian crochet. It's been about 2 years since I actually picked up my hook, and so it was a little awkward at first, but after a few minutes, I was able to get it going. And right now, this particular item is now a new work project. And so, as I've shared with you guys a few times on this channel, I like to bring a project with me to work during those meetings, as well as other instances where I need a little something just to allow my attention to be on what it is that's being presented to me rather than on something else I could be doing with my time. Nevertheless, I want to say thank you. Thank you for joining me in this experience. I've never done a fractal spin before, and I'm so glad I tried out this technique, and it's definitely one I see myself doing again. In addition, I'm also glad I decided to do a 3-ply as it really allowed the wool as to come to life, so to speak. I love the twist. I love the how can I say this? The colors really join together. So all in all, this was probably one of my favorite spins. I thought the last one was my favorite, but now this one is my favorite. And I think I'm going to end up really loving all of them at this particular rate. I hope that all of you are warm and safe and that you are enjoying your crafty time. And I wish you well. Again, thank you for joining me.